You know, sports always has a way of writing comeback stories that feel more like movie scripts than real life. One day you're on top of the world, breaking through defenses, scoring touchdowns, and making fans believe in your potential. The next day, you're sitting at home, wondering if your phone is ever going to ring again. That's been the roller coaster ride for Khalil Herbert, the former Chicago Bears running back, who not too long ago seemed like a promising piece of an NFL backfield. Fast forward to this week, and his name is back in the headlines, but not for a highlight reel run. Instead, it's for an underdog chapter that could define the rest of his career. The Seattle Seahawks have given him a lifeline, signing him to their practice squad after losing one of their depth backs to injured reserve. Now the question is simple. Can Khalil Herbert fight his way back onto the field, or is this the last stand for a running back who refuses to give up? Khalil Herbert's story starts with promise, but his NFL career has been anything but smooth sailing. Drafted in the 6th round by the Chicago Bears, Herbert quickly proved that even late-round picks can shine if given the right opportunities. He flashed early, racking up rushing yards and touchdowns that made Bears fans sit up and wonder if the team had found a diamond in the rough. In total, Herbert has 1,905 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns under his belt. Impressive numbers, considering the crowded backfields he's worked in. But as any NFL fan knows, production doesn't always guarantee job security. Injuries, coaching changes, and new offensive systems often push players down the depth chart, regardless of talent. For Herbert, that meant watching his role shrink season after season, until it finally disappeared completely in 2024. By the end of that year, it was clear the Bears no longer saw him as part of their future, leading to a trade that would begin us. The Cincinnati Bengals were the first team to take a chance on Herbert after the Bears decided to move on. At first, the fit seemed logical. The Bengals had been looking for backfield insurance behind their stars, and Herbert's ability to run between the tackles looked like it could add some depth. But as the season played out, Herbert struggled to find his rhythm. Whether it was due to limited opportunities, scheme differences, or simply the challenge of fitting into an already established roster, his production never matched the expectations. The Bengals, needing to make tough roster decisions of their own, chose to move on from Herbert in the offseason. That exit was followed by a short stint with the Indianapolis Colts, where he hoped to carve out a role. But in the brutal reality of NFL roster cuts, Herbert didn't survive the final trim, leaving him once again without a team. For months, the headlines about Herbert went quiet, and his career seemed to be fading into uncertainty. Then came Week 4 of the 2025 NFL season, and with it, a new twist in Herbert's journey. The Seattle Seahawks, dealing with their own injury troubles, needed to bolster their running back depth. Jacardia Wright had been placed on injured reserve, leaving the team shorthanded. Enter Khalil Herbert. The Seahawks signed him to a practice squad deal. Not a glamorous spot, but certainly a critical second chance. For Herbert, this signing represents more than just a paycheck. It's another opportunity to prove that he still belongs in the league. Practice squads have been stepping stones for many NFL players, who later went on to become meaningful contributors. The question is whether Herbert can seize this moment, stay ready, and impress the Seahawks coaching staff enough to eventually earn snaps on Sundays. It's the classic definition of an uphill battle. But sometimes, those are the fights that create the most inspiring comebacks. Of course, Herbert's road to meaningful playing time in Seattle is anything but easy. The Seahawks already have a loaded backfield with Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet leading the way. These two young backs have carved out their roles as the top options, and both have shown flashes of being long-term building blocks. Behind them, George Holani has been gaining the trust of the coaching staff, working his way into the RB3 spot. That means Herbert enters a room where the pecking order is well established, and breaking into that rotation will be almost impossible without injuries opening the door. For fans, it raises an important question. What exactly is Herbert's role on this team? Right now, it's more about providing insurance and showing enough in practice to keep his spot secure. But if there's anything the NFL teaches us every season, it's that depth matters, and opportunities can come in the blink of an eye. When we look at Herbert's career in the broader context of the NFL, his struggles say as much about the league as they do about him as a player. Running back is one of the toughest positions to build a long career around. It's a spot where new talent is constantly arriving from college, where injuries can derail momentum in a single play, and where even proven veterans often struggle to find jobs once younger players step in. Herbert's difficulty in sticking with teams isn't just about him. It's also about a league that has become deeper than ever at the skill positions. Teams are carrying multiple versatile backs who can catch, block, and run, leaving traditional runners like Herbert fighting for fewer spots. His story is a reminder of just how unforgiving the NFL can be, even for players who have already proven they can produce at a high level. For the Bears, who drafted Herbert and saw his early flashes of brilliance, a reunion was never really in the cards. Their offense has shifted in recent years, with coaches prioritizing backs who can contribute as reliable receivers and pass blockers in addition to running the ball. Unfortunately for Herbert, receiving has never been his strongest suit. Throughout his career, he has been more of a traditional runner, not someone who consistently excels in the passing game. Add that to his declining production in 2023 and 2024, and the front office had little reason to bring him back. It's the kind of tough reality that fans sometimes struggle with, liking a player's potential, but knowing he just doesn't fit the team's evolving needs. For Herbert, it meant moving on and searching for a fresh start, which now comes in the Pacific Northwest with Seattle. One of the most compelling parts of Herbert's story is the underdog element. He wasn't a first-round draft pick. He wasn't handed a starring role, and he hasn't been given much margin for error throughout his career. Every step of the way, he's had to earn his opportunities, and often, those opportunities have been limited. That's why so many fans find themselves quietly rooting for players like him. It's easy to cheer for the stars who dominate the headlines every week, but it takes a different kind of appreciation to support the grinders, the ones who fight for every snap, every carry, every chance. Herbert's current situation in Seattle may look bleak on paper, but stories like his often become the ones fans remember most when a player eventually breaks through. If nothing else, his persistence shows the kind of resilience that defines true professionals in the NFL. Let's also talk about what Herbert brings to the table if he does get a shot in Seattle. He's a downhill runner with vision and the ability to find lanes when the offensive line gives him space. While he may not be the flashiest or most versatile back, his style can complement Seattle's system if called upon. The Seahawks have long been a team that values toughness and physicality, and Herbert certainly embodies that with his running style. He doesn't shy away from contact. He can grind out tough yards, and he understands what it takes to contribute even in limited roles. If the Seahawks ever need a reliable body to spell their top backs, Herbert could fit that mold. It's not about being the star of the show anymore. It's about being a dependable piece of a bigger puzzle. And sometimes that's enough to extend a career that was close to being over. Looking ahead, Herbert's chances of making it back to an active roster depend on two things: his work ethic and the unpredictable nature of the NFL season. Injuries are a sad but inevitable part of the game, and running backs are especially vulnerable given the hits they take week after week. If one of Seattle's top backs goes down, Herbert's number could be called sooner than expected. Until then, his focus will need to be on practice, preparation, and proving to the coaches that he can be trusted when the time comes. For a veteran who's been on the outside looking in for months, that's no small task. But if he can channel the frustration of the past year into fuel for this new opportunity, the Seahawks might just find themselves with a hidden gem ready to contribute when they need him most. There's also the bigger picture to consider. For Herbert, this isn't just about earning snaps with Seattle. It's about keeping his career alive. The NFL is a "what have you done for me lately" league, and sitting on the sidelines for too long can make teams forget what you once brought to the table. By being on Seattle's practice squad, Herbert keeps his name in the conversation. He stays connected. He keeps training at the highest level, and he ensures that other teams see him as someone who's still committed to the game. Even if his time with Seattle doesn't lead to a long-term spot, just being active and available could open doors elsewhere. That's the kind of forward-thinking approach that has kept countless players relevant in a league that's constantly moving on to the next new thing. At the end of the day, Khalil Herbert's story isn't about stats or highlight reels anymore. It's about resilience. From being a late-round pick who surprised fans in Chicago, to bouncing between teams, to finally landing a spot on Seattle's practice squad, he's shown a determination that can't be measured by numbers alone. Will this be the spark that reignites his career? Or just the final chapter in a tough NFL journey? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Herbert's willingness to keep fighting, even when the odds are stacked against him, is the kind of story that reminds us why we love sports in the first place. It's about hope, perseverance, and the belief that no matter how many times you get knocked down, there's always a chance to get back up. For Khalil Herbert, the fight continues, and fans everywhere will be watching to see if this underdog can rise again.